Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever actually thought about your own life as an epic journey? Well, today we're diving into something truly breathtaking. We're talking about experiencing a spiritual awakening, but doing it right here in the middle of our majestic, complex universe. We're going to be pulling some fascinating insights from Thomas Alethea's 12 Steps to a Good Life to figure out how anyone can find a spiritual higher power. And more importantly, we're going to look at why that absolutely matters for your everyday peace and fulfillment. Let's get into it. So here's a question for you. What if the secret to a good life means giving up the one thing you're probably clinging to the absolute most? Control. I mean, think about it. Are you just totally exhausted from trying to manage the unmanageable through sheer willpower alone? We're always taught, work harder, plan better, grip the steering wheel tighter, and you'll force life to go your way. But what if that white-knuckled grip is exactly what's causing all your stress? That brings us right into our first phase, when life becomes unmanageable. You see, avoiding reality, it inevitably causes pain. M. Scott Peck really hit the nail on the head when he said, emotional sickness is avoiding reality at any cost. Emotional health is facing reality at any cost. When reality crashes into us, or let's be honest, when we crash into it because of our own unrealistic expectations, it hurts. True emotional health actually requires the courage to just face our limits and admit when our current way of doing things just isn't working anymore. Step one is literally admitting that life is unmanageable. Now, I know that sounds a lot like giving up, right? But actually, scratch that, it's the exact opposite. Acknowledging our limits isn't a defeat. It's a huge, courageous first step. It kind of softens those hard edges of our expectations. It builds resilience, teaches us genuine humility, and completely frees us from that exhausting hamster wheel of perfectionism. It's basically just saying, hey, I'm not a god, and I cannot control the universe. And that leads us to rethinking the whole idea of a higher power. Once we admit we can't do it all alone, we obviously need a solution. To keep this journey totally inclusive, we're going to use this incredibly accessible definition from philosopher William James. Let's break it down. A higher power just needs to be something other than your conscious self, something a bit greater or smarter, something that actually cares about you. And this is the crucial part, is large enough to trust for your next step. That's the whole shebang. It doesn't have to be infinite or strictly religious. It just needs to be a reliable external source of wisdom. To really shatter any preconceived biases you might have, just look at some of these examples. Your higher power could literally be a support group, a great counselor, or just the collective wisdom of people who've already solved the exact problem you're dealing with. No way, right? It could even be nature. You could find peace in a massive old tree in your front yard. It could be your own future, wiser self, or just the friendly universe itself. The bottom line here is that absolutely everyone can find a higher power that actually works for them. I absolutely love this next concept. Finding this power is highly, highly personal. As air flows into a vacuum, your higher power fills the space you create for it. It's like emptying your teacup so it can finally be filled with something new. You don't have to force it, you literally just have to make room. If you only create a tiny bit of space, well, the connection is small. But if you open up a massive space, it's going to take a much bigger role in guiding your life.
Okay, moving right along to crossing the spiritual threshold.
Actually making this connection happen requires a super simple 3-step process of alignment. First off, you just need a genuine willingness to try something different. Second, you've got to relax your ego and your willpower. Your ego is usually the bouncer at the door, blocking all that great outside wisdom from getting in. And third, and this is the real key, you have to actively give permission for help. Now, I want to be super clear here. This is a completely voluntary partnership. You aren't losing your free will or your identity, you're just choosing to align yourself with a much wiser current. Because here's the thing, surrender is an act of courage, not defeat. Surrendering isn't about throwing your hands up and giving away your power. It's about giving up your resistance. Relaxing your ego lets you stop thrashing around against life's current so you can finally start gliding with it, kind of like an eagle just effortlessly riding an invisible thermal. It is a profound, game-changing act of courage that opens the door to a totally new way of living. So how do we actually do this? Let's look at some practices for deep connection. Nurturing this connection every single day doesn't mean you have to pack up and retreat to a cave in the Himalayas. Cultivating this inner focus actually happens in the small, quiet moments. In the morning, you can connect simply through some focused breath work. Midday, you can use a cool little technique called practicing the presence. That's literally just taking a brief second when you walk through a doorway to remind yourself, hey, I'm not alone. And then in the evening, just take a quiet moment to reflect, review your day, and show a little gratitude. Another incredible gateway to this spiritual life is learning to cultivate awe right there in the ordinary. Imagine focusing your full attention on something super small, like a single, tiny wildflower pushing its way up through a crack in the sidewalk. Awe isn't just reserved for staring out over the Grand Canyon, right? It's a learned skill. It's about paying really deep attention to the everyday magic and beauty that's constantly surrounding us. And awe isn't just some fleeting, nice feeling. It literally changes your nervous system. Experiencing awe dials down that endless, exhausting focus we all have on ourselves. It boosts your sociability, and it provides a deep, scientifically backed sense of meaning. It humbles you in the absolute best way possible, constantly reminding you of your place in this vast, incredibly complex universe. Let's wrap this all up by looking at why spiritual purpose really matters. Just contrast these two realities for a second. The exhausting path of trying to control the entire universe with your ego, it just results in anxiety, tight control, fear, and feeling totally isolated. It's like being trapped in a tiny, rigid box. But a life aligned with a higher power, whatever that happens to look like for you, fosters serious resilience, true authenticity, and a profound sense of meaning and purpose. You completely shift from constantly struggling to dictate reality to beautifully participating in it. As Viktor Frankl so brilliantly pointed out, the meaning of life is to give life meaning. Finding this connection isn't just about scoring some personal inner peace. It's literally the absolute foundation for living a truly authentic life. Your purpose isn't just handed to you on a silver platter, right? It's something you have to actively cultivate by how you choose to live, how you connect with others, and how you view the universe around you. And when you're working with a higher power, it inevitably leads you to make the world better. As you start focusing less on your own ego and way more on connection, every single small act of kindness acts like a pebble dropped in a pond. It just ripples outward in every direction. It elevates your own consciousness, sure, but it simultaneously lifts up everyone around you. You get better, so you can make the world better. As we near the end of this explainer, I really want you to absorb this one fundamental truth. You are loved, and all is well. This is that unconditional assurance from the universe that the author spent decades trying to fully understand. Beneath all the noise, beneath all the daily anxiety, this is the foundational truth of a life lived in real spiritual alignment. So, what does this all mean for you? I want to leave you with this provocative question. What step are you on right now? Are you still completely exhausting yourself, trying to control every little detail? Or are you finally ready to open up some space for something greater? I really hope this explainer has inspired you to kick off your own immediate spiritual adventure. Keep seeking, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next one.